Hi, I'm Heather, and this is another episode of Drive Time with Heather. So I wanted to share a story that happened this morning during my rideshare work shift. I really enjoyed this conversation that I got to have with this woman. I didn't ever get like a really good look at her because a lot of times I honestly just don't see my riders very much, because especially from driving freeway or there's like really no time for me to be at a complete stop, then I don't have the chance to like look back and like really look at them. And so I might peek in the in my rear view mirror, but I have it set that I actually can't even really see their face very well. So it's kind of a bummer sometimes. I would never be able to pick people out. Like if I saw them again, I wouldn't be able to say, that was the one, I had such a great chat with her or something. Anyway, so this particular trip, I arrived feeling a little bit frustrated because unfortunately I was in one of those areas where there was a bunch of construction going on, and so of course Google Maps doesn't reflect that, and I just kept like turning down a street that I thought would work, and it would be blocked by a truck, or it would be blocked by signs, or it would just, I don't know. I had to really work hard to get to this place, and it was only a couple blocks from where I was, but I had to keep like bouncing around. Anyway, so I was kind of laughing about it, and I told her, like, God, sorry it took me a couple of minutes extra. It was just really hard to get over here because of the construction, and we kind of chit-chatted about a couple of things, like right off the top. When she got in the car, she was saying that she had stayed home sick from work the day yesterday because her tummy was hurting, and we talked about gut health a little bit for a few moments, and then we ended up on a road that does have probably some warehouse, like large grow operations, cannabis grow operations, so you can smell it when you drive through that area. And she happened to mention it, and so we chatted about that for a little bit. And then she started like telling me about how when she first tried cannabis, she tends towards edibles, and when she first tried it, she was just kind of telling about her experience. And one thing that kind of scared her is there was this she knows she took more than was really necessary, so she was having a more intense experience than she'd anticipated. And at one point she felt frightened because she said that she was having kind of this like multiple personality experience, and I wish I could remember like specifically how she talked about that, but I don't. And honestly, she kind of had a different kind of vernacular that I was trying to pick up between the slang, what she was saying, so I didn't always catch everything, but she expressed that it frightened her that she'd kind of had this multiple personality experience almost. And when it was, my turn to kind of respond, I said a couple things. I said, I've found that depending on your metabolism, edibles don't work for everybody, like myself included. I don't take edibles. They don't seem to do anything for me. Maybe if it's just purely from the medical perspective, where it's like doing, maybe it's CBD edible or something, is doing some sort of medical benefit, then that's probably happening. But I don't feel anything, even if it's a, real high THC kind of edible. And I've talked to some other folks who are like, who are pretty knowledgeable, and they're like, yep, that happens sometimes, just depends on your metabolism. So I was telling her the only way that I feel anything from cannabis is when I smoke it. And I was saying how I kind of feel like, since we have an internal cannabinoid system that the cannabinoids of cannabis, connect to, I really just kind of feel like it's, for me, in my body, it feels like Mama Gaia's, sage. She's saging me out. And I also kind of feel like every time I engage with cannabis, it kind of goes to the area that needs it most. It feels a little bit different each time I do it. And I had recognized that in the past, when I would infrequently use cannabis, I kind of blamed pain or anxiety or other things that showed up when I had used cannabis. I was blaming it that it was the cannabis that was making me feel that way. And I finally realized I don't know, 5 years ago or something like that, that it wasn't the cannabis that was making me feel anxious or feeling nerve, joint pain or making my muscles hurt or whatever. It was that all of that was present, and the cannabis was just illustrating it for me. It was just pointing it out. Let me feel it. And she really vibed with that and really appreciated that perspective. And then I also brought up, like, you know, you mentioned feeling fear about having that kind of like multiple personality experience. You might be interested in this book that I read. I at the moment didn't remember the name, but she looked it up. It's called Your Symphony of Selves. Your Symphony of Selves, and one of the authors is James Fadiman, Dr. James Fadiman. I can't remember the other doctor. I think the other writer is also a doctor. But I read it a year or so ago, and just really, really got a lot out of it. Just loved it. And I was telling her how really we all naturally have multiple aspects to ourselves, some of them so defined and clear that it could in some ways seem as if it's a completely, you know, a complete personality. But this book goes into wonderful depth about why it's perfectly healthy and perfectly natural, and, you know, some other ideas on how to engage with it. But it also talks about the history of how all of this bullshit happened. And it's just like so many other things, particularly in the medical field, where some fucking white guys all got together and decided, well, this is pathology and this is natural and this is a problem and this is okay and blah blah blah. And basically they decided that since multiple personalities were so difficult to deal with, I'm way oversimplifying, read the book for sure, but since they decided it was so difficult to deal with, that they were going to treat that as a like a pathology, a condition, a problem, instead of a natural part of our lives that we could learn to work with. So let's see, I'm stop so I can. I have some really interesting glare on me. Anyway, yeah, it was a really good conversation. I'm trying to remember, like, what else we also talked about how, you know, so much of your feel-good chemicals that we all think are all in our brain, they're actually also made in your gut. And so if your gut's not happy, then you're probably not happy. And she was like, true, definitely true for me. And it was wonderful when she was getting out. She was like, I am so excited, man. I am so jazzed about this conversation. I've gotten so much out of this. I am going to read this book. And it was cool, too, because she had told me that she'd considered studying psychology in college. She ended up not, but she considered it. So I was like, this book's a little academic. It might be a little dry for, like, the average person. But since you've already expressed that you're interested in psychology, I bet you'll really dig the book. So she was very excited. And she also felt really validated because I was taking her to, I think it was her last day at this job, or maybe the next to last day at this job. It was a relatively new one, but she realized really soon after she started that there was a lot of really kind of toxic dynamics going on. And when she tried to bring it up and tried to talk about it, everybody's like, I don't know what you're talking about. It must be your problem. Yeah, she realized it was just obviously not a good fit for her. It was a space of a lot of chaos and stress hormones and stuff. It just wasn't a good fit for her. So, yeah, it was a wonderful conversation. I always feel I really enjoy it. It feels really good when someone's getting out of the car and you know, clearly expressing it. They feel like they are better they are in a better space than they were when they got in the car. So that's it for this episode of I don't know what did I call it? I don't know. I think Drive Time with Heather, and eventually maybe it'll become Rideshare Philosopher. I don't know. Have a fabulous day. Talk to you later.